Ian, hope you're well and enjoying your flight overseas. So the purpose of this video today is to discuss SPH's tender bid to get an additional 400 patients per year. Now, as you know, SPH currently sees 900 patients a year, and we charge these patients $1,500 each in a fee. Now, it costs us $1,050 to service these patients, and we have fixed costs of $260,000 per year. So this actually gives the hospital a contribution margin of $145,000 a year. Now, in order for us to break even, meaning that we don't have any profit, SPH would actually have to see 578 patients per year. Now, obviously, we're exceeding this by 322 patients. Therefore, this gives us a contribution margin of $145,000. So, in order for SPH to service an additional 400 patients at the cost of $1,050 each, this would cost us an additional $420,000 to service these additional patients. Therefore, our break-even figure on our tender should be $420,000. So, by bidding $400,000, this may actually pose a financial risk for the hospital. However, if we were successful with the bid, we would actually gain some profits from the additional 400 patients. So we could make a decision not to go ahead with the tender. However, I do understand that you're very keen to pursue this tender. It is part of our strategic plan that we do grow the hospital and that we want to be the biggest hospital in the area and beat our competitors. So even though it is an option, I feel like this isn't really something we should consider and we should proceed with the tender bid. So there are a number of options that we can consider in order to work out how we can actually make this tender bid work. So the first one is to look at increasing our tender bid. Now, this can pose a risk that we're actually unsuccessful and unfavourable to the government. So we need to still remain competitive in order to beat our competition. So that isn't really, the most suitable option at this stage for us. Now, we could actually look at decreasing our variable costs as we do have control over that at the moment. So I've done some calculations, and if we were to reduce our variable costs by 5%, this would actually cost us only $399,000 a year to service the additional 400 patients. And if we take this one step further and look at decreasing our variable costs by 10%, then we can actually reduce the cost down to $378,000. Again, much less than the $400,000 bid. This is a really great option for us, and then we may actually even consider reducing our tender bid from the $400,000 to be more competitive. If we were successful, we would generate some additional profit. So 400 new patients at $1,500 each, we would generate some extra income. However, there's a risk that we can't really rely on this additional $180,000. So I would prefer us to be conservative and actually look at things that we do have the most control over, meaning the variable costs. Finally, we can look at increasing our patient fees. However, this does pose a risk that we may lose patients. So we don't want to be too expensive, and we don't want to be more expensive than our competitors. So this is an option. However, we do really need to look at remaining competitive in the market. Based on our benchmark figures, the $1,500 is actually a really good figure. So I wouldn't suggest this. However, it is still an option for us. So I've provided a range of options here for you and the board to consider. My recommendation would be to keep the $400,000 bid and look at reducing our variable costs. And if we're successful to do that, then we may even decide to reduce the bid slightly. Now, reducing the variable costs will also have an overall benefit to SPH in the long run anyway. So this is why I actually think it is a really good idea for us to pursue. So the Special Projects and Innovation team are on hold. They're waiting for a decision from you and the board, and they will update the tender based on what you and the board decide. I look forward to chatting to you when you come back.